everyone, it's Jessica. Thank you so much for being here with me today. So today I'm going to be scrapbooking a school picture, and I thought it would be so fun to use the School Friends stamp and thin cut set from the new July and August Close to My Heart catalog. And I was so inspired by the artwork that is actually in the catalog for this particular stamp set. And in the catalog, it looks like they have used a 4x6 photo on the left-hand page, but I think I'm going to twist this design and then use my 5x7 photo from his school picture instead. I've gone ahead and prepped a bunch of pieces, and I'll kind of share with you how I figured out what sizes to make all of those pieces of paper. So in the catalog, it does say it's a 12x12 layout, and so since it's double page, I figured out where the one page was, and then I just sort of eyeballed about halfway across where that was, and then halfway again. So now I know what approximately 3 inches looks like when I'm looking at this layout in the catalog, and then I can kind of use that as a guide to make my best guesses on all of the paper measurements. I will leave all of those in the description box down below because there were a whole bunch of pieces of paper that were used in this particular layout, and for the most part I'm going to follow it pretty closely as to what is shown in the catalog. Along the way I will make a couple of changes and twists just to suit my own particular interest, but I really love kind of doing a scrap lift sometimes. I don't know about you guys, but you know, sometimes when I buy a particular stamp set or thin cut set or something like that, it's because I am so drawn to the artwork that is shown along with it. And I love to kind of begin creating with that stamp set by just sort of mimicking what is shown. And I just thought that this worked so well for doing those pesky 5x7 photos that you get in the school pictures. You know, there aren't a lot of layout designs out there that are kind of geared towards that 5x7 size, and so I thought that this worked really well. So hopefully it works for you as well and that you find this inspiring. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of finish gluing some of those base pieces together, and now I am down to those 3 banners that are there in the center. So the one in the middle, which is the Sundance color, is actually a little bit longer, and so I just made them all 3 by 7.5 inches when I was cutting them, but I thought I would just kind of cut that one in the middle, and then that way I could hide it, you know, behind my photo and still kind of make it look like what it shows in that catalog layout. So I'm just going to kind of get a rough estimate here of how this part's going to lay out. This is about where I'm starting to change a few things around for my own purpose. And I thought, you know, okay, so I'm going to just go ahead and put a little bit of adhesive behind my photo mat, and then I'll just stick it to this piece of green apple cardstock, and I'll do the same thing to that Glacier piece. And then that way I can move the photo as one whole unit as I'm trying to figure out where these banners need to go. Now, at this point, I had glued 2 of my banners down, and then I realized that there actually was some stamping on the layout here, and I had meant to do that, and I had just gotten a little ahead of myself. So I'm like, all right, I'll just kind of pull them off carefully, and they came up okay. And whenever this happens to me, because sometimes I do get a little crazy with the glue, and then I'm like, wait, too fast. I just grab my rub and remove eraser, and it brings all of those sticky marks up just like a dream. So it wasn't a big deal that I kind of got a step ahead of myself. I was able to clean that up. Okay, so I'm going to use the Background Elements stamp set. I love this for just kind of adding a little bit of background texture. And I'm grabbing the one that looks like a bunch of like splatters on it, and I'm going to use some Toffee ink because that's what it looks like in the one that is shown in the catalog. So I'm going to stamp in the 2 corners, and when I was done and I started to put my banners back on, I realized that, you know what, maybe I should have kind of thought about how I have turned my layout. I've kind of, you know, twisted it because I'm using 5x7 in a different orientation, and those splatters probably should have gone in a different place. So this is kind of where I'm realizing that, and I thought about maybe pulling up just that white square of cardstock and then kind of giving it a turn so that it goes back to being similar to what it shows in the layout. But then I thought, you know, I'll just put it together, and if I end up hating it, then I know that that's something that I can do later. But it ends up working out okay. And so again, this is just, one way that when you're scrap lifting something, it doesn't always have to be exactly the same. Sometimes you make some purposeful changes to make it, work for what you're trying to create. And sometimes it just sort of goes awry, but it ends up working because it doesn't need to be exact. I find that I have that problem a lot in the kitchen when I'm following recipes. I tend to get a couple of steps ahead of myself and not quite follow things correctly, but that's okay. Make it my own, right? All right, so now I have those two pieces of the Sundance banner, and since they are not one, what I'm going to do here to make sure that I end up having them on straight behind my photo is I'm going to hook my T-square ruler onto my Versamat, and that way I know they look exactly like they are aligned, not just that they look, but they are aligned perfectly, and that it looks like it's one piece of cardstock behind the entire photo mat there. All right, so in the inspiration layout, there are a couple of faux stitching lines. So I'm grabbing a black marker and just putting those around the white part of the banner. And then I'm also going to use my white gel pen, and I'm going to add some white gel marks in a solid border line all the way around that piece of green apple cardstock and the Glacier cardstock that are behind my photo. Now, when I was done doing this and I was kind of looking at it a little bit more, I felt like there was too much color kind of going on, too much of that peeking out from behind the photo. So once I kind of give this pen a little bit of time to dry, I am going to kind of peel those off, and I'm going to move that in just a little bit tighter. So here you can see those faux lines and the doodling marks, but like I said, then I'm just going to kind of bring it in a little bit, see how it's a little bit tighter. And I thought that that worked just a little bit better. It wasn't quite so distracting having all of that color in there. Okay, it's time to bring in this adorable stamp set. I am so excited about all the school-related items that are in this catalog. I have so many things to scrapbook for my kids' school pictures and things like that. And I know a lot of other people do as well. So I just am really excited about all the stuff we can use here. I'm going to scoot that over so I have more room to stamp, "Oh, the places you'll go." And I think that is so cute. It's fun. I have a copy of that book by Dr. Seuss, and I have all of my kids' teachers sign it secretly at the end of every school year. And then when they graduate, I'm going to give it to them as a present. So just really excited about that particular sentiment. And then off camera, I have used my tri-blend markers to color in a few of those animals, and then I will use the coordinating die cuts to get those cut out. So I'll just use a little stick of washi tape here to kind of hold it in place and make sure it cuts out exactly. And then I cut out 2 additional pieces per animal as well. One of my current favorite tricks to do is to cut out the same die cut multiple times and then just glue them all together. I have found it to be a much better way to add some dimension to my projects as opposed to foam tape. Don't get me wrong, I love my foam tape, but I go through it like crazy. And this way it is like a uniform backing to the piece, and you don't have to use as much foam tape to try to get the whole back of it kind of lifted up. So it just is a subtle way to add some of that dimension there. All right, I'm also going to grab a couple of those star stamps that are on the stamp set here, and I'm just going to scatter those around. There's a big one that's like an open star, and then a smaller one that's a filled in solid star. And I will just kind of scatter those around 2 of the corners here while my animals are drying. And then it's time to figure out exactly where they're going to go. So I started by trying to put 2 of them down here, but my third animal is this cute little giraffe with the backpack, and he is looking off to the right. So I felt like he needed to go in the bottom left corner, so that way it kind of looked like he was, gazing across the page. So I decided to pull the other 2 animals up to the top right, and I kind of liked how they filled in some of that extra white space above the title there. And so I'm just going to very carefully layer them slightly overlapping, and then move this giraffe around just a little bit, but he will end up staying in the bottom left-hand corner. I think probably what I'll do later is write, my son's name and the school year and what grade he's in down there right next to that little giraffe and those other little stamped images that I put on there. And that's going to be about it. I don't really have a lot of journaling to put on this. It wasn't the first day of school or anything. I just kind of as a way to hold on to those school photos, otherwise they kind of get lost behind some other pictures in our picture frames at home. All right, and then I'm going to grab some green apple dots from some enamel dots that I had in my stash, and also scatter those around because there were a couple of dots that were shown in the layout in the catalog, and that is going to complete things. After I left this kind of sitting on my desk for a little while, I came back to it, and off camera I did add some liquid glass to the bear and the owl's glasses just to kind of make them look a little bit more like glasses. And then I also used some liquid pearls in the black color to add some eyeballs to the draft. So just some tiny little touches for a little bit of, you know, something fun. But that's pretty much it. This is a lot of fun. I love kind of using the inspiration that comes in the catalog as a place to begin playing with my stamp and thin cut sets. And I hope you guys have found this inspiring as well. I will leave links to any products that are available down in the description box down below. Thank you so much for watching with me today. All right, guys, happy crafting. See you next time. Bye.